Welcome back to Rock Guitar Confidential with Scott and Ryan. On today's episode, what is a producer? Do they help? Do they hurt? That and much more coming up next.
I think people should have to pay for this kind of talk, this level of discourse. You know what I mean? It's not for, well, I guess it is free. It's a podcast. You can just download it for free. Now think about it. Know what I'm saying?
Our highly sophisticated banter.
Yes, exactly. This is not, you can't just get this anywhere.
Yes,
And
that's right.
I don't think, at least. I mean, there's no one else that I'm aware of that speaks as succinctly and entertainingly as we do.
Indeed.
You know? Not anywhere. I don't think there's
Or accurately on every possible topic.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to always be correct on everything we say.
It's a heavy burden.
It is, but,
right?
You know, that's, you know, the heavy is the crown. You know what I mean? That,
Yes.
I guess I'm trying to say that we're the king. In your face, Joe Rogan.
Oh God.
Or
Dude,
whoever else, the king of or queen
Yeah.
of podcasts. Would you argue that he's the king of podcasts?
I mean, yeah, I guess so.
That's not
I mean,
for better or worse. But is there a queen of podcasts?
I don't
like
know.
a
I don't
popular-
really listen to a lot of podcasts except for, you know what podcast that isn't ours that I listen to?
I didn't think there was a podcast that wasn't ours.
I mean, yeah, I mean, they all pale in comparison,
Yeah.
but I listen to the King's Herald podcast with Jerry Reynolds.
Oh, you're talking about the Kings,
Basketball,
the basketball team.
yeah,
that makes sense.
basketball stuff. Well, because Jerry Reynolds is on it, and the man's a gem.
I mean, he invented aluminum foil wrap, I think, right? He's the guy. Aluminum foil.
It's funny,
foil.
you know. My buddy Jason just had his birthday, and Misty made him a tinfoil hat.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, and then she said she felt bad and didn't want to give it
Here's
to
the
him.
question: was it artisanal?
Yeah, well, of course it was. She
Okay.
took great care in fashioning the tinfoil hat because I gave him the coffee mug that said Tinfoil Hat Club
Yeah,
member
yeah.
Sanson had his birthday put on it.
And then he had to have an actual tinfoil hat to go along with it. 'cause
Right. She actually modeled the tinfoil hat graphic on the mug perfectly.
Oh, that is superb. That's awesome. Wow, what a great way for him to really
I know.
enjoy his life of conspiracy.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
but then but then her the niacillin in her bloodstream kicked in, and she said, "I don't want to give it to him. I feel bad." I was like, "That's not."
He has
you
all
know.
these terrible ideas, and we shouldn't rub it in.
Yeah, so just so
you know.
everybody knows, my buddy Jason, his birthday is in the middle of. I should just put all of his personal information
Yeah,
out on
you
the
put
web.
a social up there too. You know, and
I was teasing him. I
address.
said,
Yeah.
"Dude, and this is the truth. In order to get his custom coffee mug made, I had to give his personal information to a stranger named Muhammad,
That was, oh, I
which
thought it
I'm
was-
sure he would. It wouldn't bother me,
Yeah,
but."
that's fine. It's not your memory. Yeah, here you go. Here's all you know. Here's where he lives right here. Here's his phone number. Here's his email address.
Yeah,
his
exactly.
age,
Yeah.
his time, his height and weight. You know,
Blood type.
exactly. Don't see how giving that to a complete stranger could be bad in any way.
Yeah. So Misty's niacillin kicked in, and I tried to explain every September. We have the tradition is 30 days of ripping on Jason.
Okay, fantastic. I'm sure everyone enjoys it.
Yeah,
It's fun for everyone.
So I'm doing this. His wife is doing this homeopathy thing, and she needs like a first client.
Oh, okay.
Jason asked me to do it, and so just to do a kindness for my friend, I filled out a little questionnaire, right? And one of the questions was, like, what do you do first thing in the morning? So my answer was, I take and this is the truth. I take a multivitamin. I drink a 19.2 ounce can of Liquid Death.
Okay.
I brew 1 cup of black coffee, and then I rip on Jason.
That's the whole plan for the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I
And then
start
I'm
my
exhausted
day.
at the end of that. My God.
Yes,
Yeah,
no, I'm invigorated.
Yeah, you
because
feel
I'm
more excited. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't, if
You can't visit torment on a friend, right?
Right. If you can't tell your friend that, like, everything they believe and stand for is bullshit, and, like, what are friends for?
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
You have to say that for the wedding, like when you're doing the speech.
Yeah, no, I already survived the wedding, like, 25 years ago. Yeah.
Damn it. That was your opportunity right there, actually.
I mean, I'd like to believe I ripped on Jason that day, too.
Nah, you probably didn't. You probably were like kind and very
No,
cool.
no. Well, I mean, dude, I went to Catholic school, man. Mockery is my love language.
That's true. Okay.
Yes.
Right. And sometimes though, you have to do what you have to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hopefully, I'm done going to weddings.
I don't know. You're going to go to the second round because everyone's getting divorced from their first wedding when you were younger. So now they're like,
Yeah, and you know what? I'm pissed because nobody ever invites me to the divorce.
Exactly. It seems like you would want to get invited to that.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to.
Misty has dragged me to her friend's sufferings like plenty of times, and I'm just waiting for those friends to invite me to the divorce.
Yeah, but you know what though? You'll find out later when you go to the second wedding. So that's going to be like it's like a cycle of life. In your 20s, you meet somebody you think is going to be the one, you stick with them for a few years, then you divorce, then you find another person who you repeat and rinse and repeat.
Well, I
by the time you're 60s, figure screw it, man. I only have like so many years left of this on the anyway, so we'll make it work with whoever this person, awful human being is.
I will celebrate those weddings by going to my individual home and staying there by myself
in the traditional way.
Yes, as is tradition. Yes,
exactly. I want to respect my elders and not acknowledge it in any way.
Oh my goodness!
And respecting the elders is something that I think that we should do in the music industry as well, because it was better back in the day. I think we've always well established that music was like, it's got kind of this like, just, Rick Beato talked about it. Music's on this weird curve that's going straight into the bowels of hell. And
wait, let's not be so hard on hell, man. I'm looking forward to Halloween season.
Me too, but I would say that hell is probably just a nonstop, like just Ricky Martin, Justin Timberlake.
I thought hell was for children.
That's what Pat Benatar thinks.
Yeah, well,
But her music was too good, so it had to be one of those things where if she's saying that, I can't trust her. I'll tell you what, though, NSYNC ever said Hell's for Children, I believe it, because they've been there, man. Or they're going there. One of the two, you know what I mean?
What, NSYNC?
Yeah. Or is it Backstreet Boys? I don't know. They're all the same. So
I'm trying to remember who's in NSYNC versus
what's the
Backstreet
K-pop
Boys.
one? What's the one that's like?
Well, K-pop is.
What's that band that's so big? Everyone like.
Oh, their initials B.
Oh, BTS. Yeah,
BTS. Yeah.
Well, they got to remove the T, and then they have it perfect.
Yes.
I mean, who knew that a middle-aged guy would find a boy band to be terrible? You know what I mean? It's true. Well, oh my God, what is Satan? Have we risen Satan up?
I think we've upset the boy band gods.
Oh no.
Okay, stand by.
Stand by. Yep. All right. Justin Timberlake is the most talented person I've ever come across.
No, I just got done with
DUI was faked. All that was all completely fake. Jessica Biel seems lovely.
Dude, I just got done shouting, "The power of Van Halen compels you." The power of Van Halen compels you.
We held up the VH to their face. It did nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So apparently,
it wasn't until I sprayed them with artisanal mineral waters that they actually calmed down.
So for those just tuning in, we just upset the boy band gods.
Yes, we had to quell them with our what was it Perrier spritzers and
yes, our Van Halen exorcism.
Yeah, exactly right. So
yes,
anyway,
the spirit of Van Halen came to save us.
Exactly. Thank you, Eddie.
Yes,
wherever you are.
Yeah,
exactly.
Out in the firmament,
shredding,
because the Earth is flat.
Yeah, it's science. It's science.
He's floating around in the firmament.
Science.
Yes.
No, he's probably in Asgard with the gods. You know what I mean? It's,
right.
Feasting and fighting and shredding guitar forever. You know what I mean?
Yes, ruling over the overworld while Ronnie James Dio continues to rule the underworld.
Well, and the Man on the Silver Mountain, of course,
and also the Silver Mountain.
Yes, exactly. All those other mountains. So
yes,
one thing that those dreadful, horrible boy bands all have in common, and really from the beginning, there's been. By the way, if you're young, like there's been boy bands forever. Like every generation's had their version of boy bands. I remember when I was like a little kid, it was like New Kids on the Block. Was like the boy band, and then they had like Hanson and Jonas Brothers, and then Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, of that generation, it was New Edition. Was that
the first one?
The acapella boy band, but
I remember like the first time there was like
but they were
girls on the 5th grade school bus were like talking about how cute the guys was like New Kids on the Block. That's what I remember. Like, and that to me is like the proto NSYNC and the proto Backstreet Boys. You know what I mean?
So before all of that, the real proto, New Edition was it, right? It had like Bobby Brown was in that.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yeah,
the Belle Biv DeVoe guys. Right?
Oh yeah, but I forgot about those guys. Yeah,
right. But they were African Americans, and so the record industry didn't think suburban white kids would listen to it. Yeah. So that's when we got New Kids on the Block.
But the point I'm trying to make on that is it was basically driven by labels and producers. It wasn't something. Yeah. It wasn't like these guys were out in the clubs playing every night, doing 6 sets or something like that. Yeah, that wasn't.
No, they weren't trying out. Yeah,
these guys are like people who were like rejected for Disney Junior or whatever the version of that was at the time.
Yeah, they weren't testing out songs like "Sweet Little Sister" in the clubs like Skid Row was doing.
Yeah, exactly. They weren't. So
to see how the song worked, because that's how it used to be done.
These are artists, and I use the words with air quotes, who were put together by headshots and producers and stuff, and then we'll figure the music out at some point down the line.
Well, it was a product, but I mean, you've got to give all those guys, well, most of those guys there, like Justin Timberlake, for example, like he can sing, he can dance.
He can also drive drunk, as we recently discovered.
Yes,
too.
he can, apparently, but he cannot say the alphabet backwards.
Damn it!
Apparently,
or walk in a straight line. There's another thing he can't do.
Yes, but I don't. Who can?
He's like 47 years old too. He's like, come on, man. Yeah, what are you doing?
That is pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, come on, dude.
Well, but you know what? Maybe in his defense, I mean, maybe he just like had a beer, and because he's 47, like
that hit him like a brick. Just
hit him.
I have a feeling that's
giving
giving him an awful lot of credit. I think he was just being irresponsible, as no one should do.
Yeah.
That being said, though, I feel like that brings me to what today's topic is, which is basically the importance of producer and why, kind of going to explain why music now is not quite as good as music used to be. And I think, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts about a good producer? What are your thoughts about, how they help and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, a producer is a member of the band, really.
Yeah, especially if he's Bob Rock. He literally is. He plays bass. Yeah.
God. So I've been.
By the way, he did not play bass on Dr. Feelgood.
Wait, who did play bass?
Probably Mick played bass. I'm guessing on that too.
Oh yeah, you know what? Occam's razor, man. The simplest solution is
removing Nikki Sixx. I think that's exactly the definition of Occam's razor. Whatever situation you find yourself in, remove Nikki Sixx from the situation, and it will instantly become better.
So that's an interesting thing. So, we talk about the boy bands, and that's just all a product, right?
Yep.
But I mean, and a product is meant to be sold.
Yeah, but
and now there's no money in anything.
Yeah.
So
exactly. And
yeah.
If you look at those songs, though, the reason those songs were such hits is because they were crafted to be that by people who are really great songwriters. Not the band guys in the band, but the people who wrote the songs were great. And then the producers were smart enough and talented enough to understand like what's the wheat and what's the chaff. Like we're gonna keep these parts, we're gonna get rid of these parts. We need to put the hook here. This is where the bridge should go. That's something that is an expertise that a lot of musicians don't necessarily have. That expertise. They just write parts and they just sort of put them together. Some do, some don't. But
well, and you know what? Just to add to that, even for musicians who have expertise. So, like, if I was listening to something one of my students came up with, then I could say, yeah, the bridge needs to be this long, or here, here's where you put your solo. Maybe you should add a post chord because it's not my song.
Yeah, because you have a little bit of this distance, you can kind of see it more objectively.
Yeah, objectivity is one main reason, in addition to expertise, and and engineering is also a separate thing.
That's true. Engineering helps a lot, but a lot of the reason I think that, especially moving into the rock world, look at all the great classic rock records. Just going back to probably the early 70s, just think about all the great classic rock records. Yeah, guys like Glyn Johns, Andy Johns on some of the Zeppelin and Stone stuff. Obviously, getting into like the 80s, you had the Ted Templemans, and then obviously.
Well, Ted Templeman was like 70s too.
70s
and like
80s,
don't forget Mutt Lange.
Mutt Lange is the guy's going towards. Mutt Lange is the guy who really is the master of that craft of like understanding. Okay, because the guys in like AC/DC and Def Leppard were great songwriters, as we've seen before Mutt and after Mutt. Although I guess we never really saw Def Leppard before Mutt because he did the first 5 records with them.
Well, did he do on? He didn't do On Through the Night.
I think he did. Oh, you're right. He didn't do On Through the Night. He did.
And that's a monstrous album.
But if you see like that's pre-Mutt, and then you have On Through High and Dry, Pyromania, Hysteria, Journalize. Those are all with Mutt.
Yep.
And then the stuff they did after. Now they did some great stuff before and after, but the stuff with Mutt, it was like just unbelievably great.
As an interesting
Quincy Jones for Michael Jackson, same sort of thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, God, totally.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I was just going to no, it's okay. I was just going to suggest as an interesting exercise. So Def Leppard re-recorded the entire Hysteria album because they didn't own the rights to the original.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess so that it could be streamed on Spotify or whatever. And I mean, it's fine, but it's not the original. Just as a listening exercise, anybody out
there?
Go
listen to the difference.
Yeah, listen to the original Mutt Lange recording and then listen to the one that the Def Leppard guys did themselves so that they could earn their own royalties, which I respect. It's kind of like what Taylor Swift did, where she re-recorded her first however many albums.
Yep.
Because of the contract that she signed originally. Yeah.
Which is an amazing thing some artist of her stature would have to even do. And Def Leppard, too. I mean, after selling, 40, 50, 60 million copies of the records, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think people really understand how successful Def Leppard has been. You know what I mean? They kind of think, oh, yeah, the 80s band. Like, no, dude, you don't understand. They have 2 diamond albums. You know what I mean? 2 Diamond albums.
But are they King Diamond
Well,
albums?
I know there's a whole nother level you can't reach.
Yeah,
for that.
right. Thank you.
But there's only a handful of artists who've ever done that in the history of recorded music. You know what I mean? They've sold, I think, well over 100 million copies of their records.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you compare that to any very successful modern artist, the modern artist is like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. It sold 1 million copies,
Well,
which would get you dropped from your label back in the 80s.
Right. Well,
It's
today
like,
I think it's all the equation's all about, if you've got like 10,000 listeners, like that's all you have to achieve.
Yeah, it's that, and also followers on social media and TikTok and Instagram.
Maybe it's followers.
It's really more that, and then listens, like what's the new listenership every month and stuff. That's kind of how you do. But record sales are non-existent for the most part. Even for massive artists, if Taylor Swift puts out a special edition album, it might sell 1 million copies nationwide over the course of 3-4 months or something like that. But that's completely like celebrated. People are doing cartwheels in the Sony. I'm not sure who's distributing her anymore, but but whoever it is doing cartwheels with that kind of record sales. It's unheard of these days. But it's still back in the day, if this was like 1991, it would be like 15 million copies. You know what I mean? It would have been like 10, 15 times what that would be. So, but that's being said, the producer's role in that and making those songs. You listen to an album like Rumors from Fleetwood Mac. You listen to anything by the Eagles or REO Speedwagon. Listen to Kansas.
REO Speedwagon, who just announced that they are done as a touring band as of January 1st, 2025.
Yeah, but I think that's Rich Rath. Is it Rick Rath?
No, I think Rich Rath. One of the purveyors of the Neener lick.
Yeah. Well, he's actually just doing that to try and avoid the ire of this particular podcast. I think that's why they had the whole thing went down.
Actually, I think he's dead.
Is he dead?
I think Rich
that
Rath
won't
is
save
dead.
you, man.
We've got our people. Yeah. But so it's interesting. So I guess there's so REO Speedwagon is no longer touring because there's quote irreconcilable differences between the lead singer, who's like the main guy,
Kevin Cronin. Everyone.
Yeah, Kevin Cronin. Thank you. And the bass player,
which no one cares about. He's a bass player.
Right. I thought to myself, well, and I guess that they got another bass player to finish the tour.
Yeah,
but
Matt Bissonette, dude.
Is that who's playing bass?
Who played bass for Foreigner, yeah.
Wait, not Foreigner. I'm talking about REO Speedwagon.
I'm sorry, REO Speedwagon. I'm talking, because Jeff Pilson's in Foreigner.
Yeah, and Foreigner sounds great with Pilson, man. He's such a
Matt
double threat.
was doing REO Speedwagon. Yeah, which is a massive. I don't care who the bassist was. Matt Bissonette's an upgrade.
Well, and I thought to myself, well, like of all the people to have a conflict with,
the bass player, I know.
The bass player.
Who could we do to replace the bass player? Except
what are we going to do?
Get literally anyone else.
I mean, like couldn't you just get the bass tech?
Get or someone from the crowd. Here, come on. Come on up.
That'd be kind of a cool hook. You just like have a bass guitar
every single
on a
time,
stand.
every single show. You just have bring someone from the crowd and have them play it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just a random, a random child from the crowd. Just anybody.
6 and up. Gotta be 6 and up. Come on, let's be respectful.
Well, they could get like a little like sign that says like to play bass in REO Speedwagon, you must be this tall.
Hey man, not anyone can do that thing. You have to be over this height.
So that's like the perfect bass audition. To play bass in our band, you must be this tall.
You must be at least in 2nd grade and over this height.
Which is why Louis Shortstuds never landed a bass gig.
It's like, whoa, the bass is bad. What are you doing to my body?
That's what led him to his career.
Exactly.
He was never tall enough to play bass in any band.
And worked his way. Yeah, makes sense.
Game of Thrones wasn't around back then when Louis was coming up, so he had to find another way to become a star.
Exactly. And he did. He really made everyone's lives better at the end of the day. At least a certain cul-de-sac of people in the San Fernando Valley in the 70s.
Yes, Wonderland, I believe it was called. Anyway, so
the point I'm trying to make though about REO Speedwagon though, like, and if you look at, there's like so many. I can go on all day. There's like Pat Benatar. There's like so many amazing artists from that time period who had incredible songs, and it's not that there's not people who are writing great songs now. It's just back then they had a producer who was able to kind of go in and, like you said, with like an objective eye, understand how to put this together best, how to like lose this part, keep this part.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And play bass if necessary.
No, it's never necessary.
Like Bob Rock.
And can we make sure that the drums sound like banging on coffee cans? That's perfect. Let's do that.
Make the kick drum clickier.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to hear any body at all. Just click, click, click. No solos. play that P90 loaded to the Jag Stang.
Oh wait, you're going a direction different than I'm going. I was just like still pinched up about Metallica.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
But we were also talking. So like Dr.
All those
Feelgood,
great
right?
ideas about Saint Anger. Let's make it sound terrible. That's because terrible is good, or whatever. It's like Bob Rocket's crazy because he did A Little Ain't Enough. He did freaking Dr. Feelgood. I mean, he clearly knows how to produce. He did a bunch of other stuff.
But he didn't play bass on A Little Ain't Enough.
That's
you
true.
can tell that's Billy Sheehan.
But you know that he no, it actually wasn't.
What?
No, I think that was actually Batman.
Oh wait, no. Oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, Bissonnette.
Speaking of which, this is all Matt Bissonnette all the time podcast. So
yeah, I was thinking Eat 'Em and Smile. I apologize.
No, Little Ain't Enough is freaking Becker.
It's Becker. Yeah.
It's actually a great record, man.
It's such a great record.
Yeah, sounds great. Plays great. I mean, it's just awesome. That was just right around the time when things were starting to turn. It was like '91 when that happened, I think. And there was David Lee Roth. I mean, I said this before, and we'll get back to the producer thing in a second. But like, it must have been amazing to be like a 28-year-old David Lee Roth. It must be hell to be a 68-year-old David Lee Roth. That's got to be the worst place to be. Like,
I don't know, man. I'd still like roll around in like my hundreds of dollars from royalties.
He's got probably more than hundreds of dollars, but I hope so at least.
I'd roll around in all my money going skiddly bop, skiddly bop, skiddly bop.
Zip-down.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, dude, if you ever watch him on stage in the last like 5, 6, 7 years, whatever, it's like he just doesn't even know what to do with himself. He's just like standing there wearing this weird like Liberace looking outfit. And
what? I thought he was wearing like a 2-piece suit.
What I've seen, he looks like Liberace-ish style stuff. And,
hey, you know what? Liberace rocked.
But the point I'm trying to
Cheers
make,
to Liberace. Liberace was a monster musician.
I've
man.
no doubt.
Talk about how times change.
I'm not trying to go down the Liberace path. I'm just trying to explain that.
Hey, I'm here to say I'm fully pro Liberace.
Liberace was a fantastic musician.
Dude, you know what? You know what I love about Liberace is that like what did he used to say? Like too much still isn't enough.
Oh, that's where Yngwie got
or something
it.
like that. Well, he's very, he's kind of Yngwie-like, piano Yngwie.
Yeah.
Sociopath. Yngwie is not a sociopath.
Okay. Oh, will we be like just a narcissist?
I don't think so. I think Yngwie is just like successfully built a career.
No, I love Yngwie. He's
right.
For sure.
He's one of those guys that like his skills can back up. Like if he wants to unleash. Yeah. If he wants to unleash the fury, well, I don't know, man. I don't know that his ego is really necessarily that bad either. I think you know what? This is an interesting phenomenon because, of course, there's going to be a lot of haters on Yngwie because of what happened in the grunge apocalypse. Like Yngwie is like the shining example of everything that there was backlash against, right?
Over the top,
over the top. Well, first of all, the look, the stage show, but also the talent and skill. That's
virtuosity,
everything. The virtuosity, like all of it, right?
Yeah.
Like the and in fact, those are all the things that Liberace had, right?
It's
and
true.
so really like the grunge apocalypse was also a backlash against people like Liberace, which sucks.
Well, I get big shows, big personas, bigger than life because it's not real, man. It's gotta be real,
dude. I listen
stare at your shoes and we're like whatever, man, and just dude, that's real because that's totally real,
dude. I would rather watch a Liberace performance with like the dancing fountains and stuff, and like the piano with like the mirror piano and all the costumes and shit, and like pulling out in a Rolls Royce,
showmanship.
I would much rather go to that show in Las Vegas than hear Kurt Cobain go rate me.
Yeah, I know, of course. Well, you and I clearly are very.
We've already described.
We're clearly representative of our cohort, our age cohort.
Or I'd rather go see that show than like cram into like a 50-person quote unquote club that's just like an offshoot of a coffee shop to see Pop Tropica sluts do what it is they do.
You have to understand that they've already had their time. Their time has come and gone. The Pop Tropica sluts or whatever they are.
It has.
They're already like passe. There's probably it's probably now like Joe's Pop Tropica sluts.
like Jack Russell.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Jack Russell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By the way, rest in peace, Jack Russell, who passed away recently.
Yeah, rest in peace. Yeah, they
great singer. Actually, unabashedly a fan of Great White. I think Great White's, especially that earlier part of their career, I really love that music. I think I listen to it still. It's great.
Dude, there's a scene.
Mark Kendall, great guitar player.
Yeah, Mark Kendall was pretty good.
I love his style, dude. I think he's got a really cool vibe. I listened to the solo on like House of Broken Love. I just think freaking tasty as hell. That's just a tasty bit of guitar right there. You know what I mean?
I will say there's an episode of Parks and Recs where Aziz Ansari's character, so he gets divorced, but the only reason he was married was to get his friend a green card.
Yeah.
She was like a doctor.
I remember this. I watched
that.
it. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
And so he wants to go to a strip club. And like in that strip club scene, like one of the songs they're playing is "Lady Red Light" by Great White.
Yeah.
And I just thought, fuck yeah, dude. Yeah. That's like our exotic dancer is going to be dancing to Pop Tropica Sluts.
No. It's Portsmouth Sugar on Me.
No, or like Jeremy by
of course not. Spoken class today.
Yeah, man. Both male and female strippers need shit to dance to.
Thanks for listening to the Rock Guitar Confidential podcast with Brian and Scott. Please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. Now back to the show.
You know what? I guess they dance to Stupid New Country now.
I guess so, yeah.
God, that sucks.
Well, that's what it was self-inlay. The call came from inside the house on that one. Rock and roll just let that country be taken. You know what I mean?
Garth Apocalypse.
But Yngwie's a good example of another artist
so
who could have definitely benefited from sticking with the producer longer, because you can tell he's got his classic records, like really starting with Rising Force all the way up through probably Facing the Animal, where I feel like he was really strong songs. It was really well put together. The pacing of the albums were good. Then once he started self-producing, like a lot of artists, it just got very self-indulgent to the point where like the songs were very meandering. Certain parts were there just because he thought it was cool, but it didn't make the song better. You know what I mean? And
I think
that's an artist who definitely could have benefited from having a stronger producer. You know what I mean? As much as I love Yngwie, and there's amazing, wonderful things in every Yngwie record. It's just that if you look at the body of work early in his career, when he definitely had a strong producer and strong direction, the quality of his music was better.
I mean, like Rising Force sounds great, and I love Trilogy, but I think the production
is great. Odyssey is great. I love those records. I mean,
Facing the Animal is probably the most well recorded.
That's great,
in my opinion.
Good tunes too, really good tunes.
And they're it's more. The songs I think are more accessible to like most rock fans.
I think Trilogy through Odyssey, Trilogy through Eclipse is probably his most accessible, at least for that time period, like that late '80s time period. That's
so Facing the Animal is like '96.
Yeah,
I think.
So there's a little bit more in that was a tough time for Yngwie to be Yngwie, because to him be Yngwie, it was in the middle of the grunge and new metal thing. That was like there was no. No place where he kind of fit in that.
Well, 96, we were into like the horrors of Creed and bands like that.
By then, Korn and Joy Rose are ugly heads. The grunge thing had already kind of come and gone at that point. 96, the grunge thing was kind of over already.
We started finding kernels of corn in the poop of grunge.
And Limp Biscuits and all these things, all kinds of other foodstuffs, So
Yngwie is exactly the kind of artist that... we need more of.
So you look at the newer bands, the bands that are coming out now, and I think this is really looking at, I shouldn't say new bands from like 2005 to now, let's say. Like once there stopped being an industry, when people couldn't afford to have, $100,000 budget for a record, when they couldn't pay a producer $40,000 to do this, that's when things started getting more hit and miss. And as much as there'll be good songs here and there, and a lot of guys who now are called producers, I think are really just more engineers who have a good ear, rather than guys who are producers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's interesting. There's a thing that I'm noticing now. So one of my students asked me to teach him. I think the guy's name is Nate Silver.
Isn't that from 538.com? Is that Nate Silver?
Oh, the pollster. Yeah.
Teach him how to do polls, like scientific.
No, it's Nate Smith. It's a totally forgettable named artist, right? Okay. And seriously, if you put a blindfold on me, I would have told you it was a crappy Nickelback tune.
Okay.
Like not even like Nickelback's like
prime Nickelback. It's like this is like
it's not prime Nickelback. Yeah. And you know what? Maybe we're onto something here. Like it seems like they took this artist and tried to. Like if there was like a plug-in for your DAW, like the
it's like Nickelback,
the nickel,
the
like
nickel plug,
like the douchifier plug-in, where you can just take your song and you can just run
not
it
that
through.
bad. I will fight you on that, dude. Nickelback is not that bad.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Something about Chad Kroeger just screams douche to me.
Well, I don't know the dude. I've not heard bad things about the guy.
If they had a different, no, I can't help it. There's maybe he just needs a haircut or to stop. Like, but there's just something, how like there's some artists that just like you can't put your finger on it, but
I get you.
It's like it's.
I feel that way about what's the freaking douchebag who saturates the EVH guitars with his grossness.
Oh, that's Lil Wayne.
No, not him. I have respect for Lil Wayne. He's a god amongst men. No, it's the.
But he didn't get picked for the Super Bowl.
What's the guy in the white stripes? Oh, Jack White.
Jack White.
I fucking hate him. I don't know why. I just want to murder him whenever I see him.
Yeah, see, I don't really dislike Jack White.
So, see, this is how I feel about Nickelback.
Yeah,
I don't dislike Nickelback.
Okay, fair enough.
That's my version of that. Is I despise Jack White for reasons that are unknown to me.
Yeah, sometimes, humans are funny. Maybe they're like audio pheromones that are like repulsing you from Jack White.
Hate him.
Same thing with Chad Kroeger. Yeah, he's probably a nice dude. I don't know. He's not a douche on the level of like Scott Stapp. Like Scott Stapp,
but Mark Tremonti's a cool dude. So
but Mark Tremonti's cool. Yeah,
so you have to have some respect for that because there's some good. There's all the other guys in that band are actually good musicians and good songwriters too. So Creed's got some good artists, some good people in that band. They may have picked the douchebag singer, but at least they have the rest.
Which
of
is a huge mistake.
Well, Van Halen made that mistake too. So it's one of those things that it's just
Well, I mean, David Lee Roth was fucking great.
He was great, but he was a giant douche. I mean,
I don't think he was a giant douche. He basically just stole his persona from Jim Dandy Mangrum.
I guess that's true. He's a thief and a douche. Come on.
It's like speaking of douches, Hulk Hogan stole his whole thing from the superstar Billy Graham.
Wait, you mean talk the Avengers?
No. No, this is a different guy.
He's like, that's why I had the Bible all the time, and now it all makes sense.
No, there was another professional wrestler that had the whole like.
His name was Billy Graham.
His name was his ring name was the original superstar Billy Graham. I encourage anybody to look it up. But Hulk douchebag Hogan stole his whole persona from the guy. Very similar to the way Dave
took Jim Dandy's.
Yeah, Jim Dandy. And I encourage everybody to listen to some Black Oak, Arkansas. That's some good Southern rock there.
That's true. It's true.
Anyway,
I've heard that. That's actually famous. People talk about that for years. That he basically stole Jim Dandy's whole thing. And people who knew about Black Oak, Arkansas were like, "Oh, he's just doing Jim Dandy." Yep. They kind of knew it right away. And then when people who'd never heard of Black Oak, Arkansas, just like, "Oh, that's just David Lee Roth." They probably would reverse engineer that and say, "Jim Dandy stole the thing from David Lee Roth." Right. You know what I mean?
DLR to the rescue, Skilly Bob. DLR to the rescue.
Anyway, the point I'm trying to make.
So we got off track.
No, come on, dude. Roth must have been a freaking nightmare, especially back with the height of Van Halen. It must have been a nightmare to deal with that guy.
Man, if that's the price to pay to be in Van Halen, I'll pay it.
I hear you. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, to be close to that greatness, you know what I mean?
Right.
But anyway, where were we going with that? You're saying that there's like an artist that your student made you.
Oh yeah. So just in terms of modern production, thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just sounds like they took I don't know. You know what? The track could have, if you had played it if you had blindfolded me and had me just listen to it, you could have told me it was Nickelback and I would have believed you.
Okay. This is the new Nickelback, this is off their new record or whatever. Yeah, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and it's not, I mean, the guy has sort of like the token country accent. Which I'm already.
Nickelback is having a country accent. It's just
No, but I mean they're like 1 foot in like the new country cesspool.
I think new country came into Nickelback territory. I don't think it's the way around. I think Nickelback did what they do, and somehow new country sort of came closer to Nickelback. I think.
However, the unholy union was created. I don't.
Like Foulcraft, Saruman has created. New country,
yeah, right. Like what?
Goblin Men and Nickelback.
Like what? Like what came first, the shitty chicken or the shitty egg? I don't know. It's all shitty, but
makes sense. Yep.
So number one, you could have blindfolded me and told me it was Nickelback, and and if you watch the video, there's a woman singing backup vocals, but I mean, it's so auto-tuned. And just so everyone knows, when I say auto-tuned, I don't mean robot voice. Yeah. I don't mean
it's just not a natural human singing voice.
It's just the like part of what makes harmonies sound thick is the slight imperfection. It's the notes rubbing together, right? And so when they're like
tonally slightly out of tune. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. When they're so for you guitar players out there, if you have a chorus pedal,
exactly.
Right, what it does is it splits your signal in stereo, and then it takes one of those signals and it modulates it a little bit out of tune.
And you can do the same thing with the harmonizer and do detune, same kind of thing. Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
But this was just processed to like the note is just right on the grid. Like perfection. And and so what that does is it makes the vocal harmonies sound really thin.
Well, it also doesn't sound like a human singing either. It sounds like something that's been processed. But you know what makes me so terrified is that a lot of the new generation, that's what they want. They want to hear that. If they listen to like Rumors from Fleetwood Mac, where everything's just done on tape and they all sing it in real time, they would look at that and they go, I don't get it. It sounds old. It doesn't sound like what music should be. You know that?
Yeah, it's like I was almost shocked because the guitars, big guitars, big drums, simple caveman rock. So again, I could do without the like country nonsense, but I mean, if it didn't. I mean, I like by rights, I should have liked some of it, but it was, it was like being in a room with fluorescent lights.
Yeah,
it hurts your brain. It's ugh.
Yeah, but the thing is that to a whole lot of people who don't think about music very much, they wouldn't even understand what this conversation's about. They don't understand what you're even talking about. It's like, it's all the same. I mean, they really have no point of reference. They just all the same. This is just the same as that. Like, what do you mean this is better than that?
Okay, and so then it begs the question. Then I mean, like Nate Smith, like, isn't just out there for no reason. I mean, there has to be at least one I want to know who the besides his mom, who's the number one Nate Smith fan.
Well, we had this
there?
discussion on the last podcast.
Who is that person?
I'll tell you, it's not the music that's the product. There's going to be something else about that artist, whether it's his look or what he does on Instagram or
dude,
TikTok.
he's a chubby white guy with a beard.
Well, that's a lot of people but that's
on behalf of chubby white guys, I'm glad I have like representation, but not necessarily through Nate Smith.
I'm just saying that there must be something else going on. There must be like some kind of thing. It's usually not the music that's driving it. There's something about his kooky personality, or he's got some crazy Instagram page, or he does.
So you're saying it's the Post Malone phenomenon?
Well, that's everything now, and that's the reason. But that's another big reason why there's no producers in music anymore, because music is not an industry anymore. Music is something that people make to put on their Twitch and YouTube feeds and their TikToks. That's what music, and it's like in little 30, 40-second bites you stick up there, or a minute-long bite or something. And that's what the goal is. The goal is not to write a timeless piece of music that people are going to love 100 years from now. The goal is to make your views go up by 2%. That's the goal. That's the end game for those guys.
Yeah, but it's the money. It's the money balling.
Not the cool end game like the kind Megadeth does, but like the not cool
nice,
but a bad end game. So I think what it really comes down to is that if you look at, like, I hear a lot of people like around our ages, people in their 40s, who say like, all music sucks now, man. It's all terrible. And we talked about with the Rick Beato podcast before, but I think a big part of why is there's no producers anymore. And I think the producers were able to craft with the artist. It's not like they made the artist, but they helped to like guide the artist to see this is the important part. This is the not important part. We need the hook to come at this point. We need the bridge to be at this point. That solo's too long. We need to make it like 8 bars shorter.
Yeah,
that kind of
absolutely.
stuff. Just little details like that. It's not like the producers in every instance writing the song. The producers basically guiding the artist to decide what the right song is. And if we look back on any classic album by any classic artist, one of the reasons that music is so timeless is they had a steady hand who's walking them through, like, this is what's important. Like Mutt Lange's a good example. Listen to like Highway to Hell, listen to Back in Black, listen to the Pyromania, listen to those kind of. I mean, there's a bunch of other amazing producers too, but I'm just saying that's an example of somebody who was integral to the sound and success of that band and the songs. Quincy Jones, Michael Jackson, that kind of thing. Prince, and working with his team that he had back then. It wasn't just like a singular artist just making music, without any boundaries. They kind of had real ideas. For better or worse, a band like ZZ Top, part of the reason why they had that massive success in the 80s is they had a producer come in and say, we have to modernize your sound. We're going to have to streamline this. It's not less jammy. It would be more shorter songs, more to the point. And they benefited greatly from that by making those giant, albums and getting all the MTV play and stuff. They had Dire Straits, same thing. Bands that could very easily go into jammy land if they were unattended. If that makes Yngwie Malmsteen goes to jammy land if he's unattended.
Jammy land?
You know what I mean?
It sounds like it's pajama day.
Exactly. It's
pajama time.
Well, Dream Theater
time.
made a career out of that, by the way. So Dream Theater is a band that came out, and their producers, I'm sure, in their first 2 records, like, no, we need to make the songs have to be more straightforward.
Yeah, gotta stay focused before it goes off.
Then it ended up becoming their signature is that. You know what I mean? And then that led to a lot of the new prog, which unfortunately just forgot about the melody and riff part. They just do the crazy weirdness, but they don't do the cool melodies and riffs that Dream Theater did. So,
I will say, you know what? Through the efforts of both our good friend Alex Bosson and one of my students, I really am growing to appreciate Haken. That is a band everyone.
Haken's killer, dude.
Yeah, Haken's great, man.
Yeah.
Usually like 8 to 12 minute songs is, now that I'm old, it's not as much my cup of tea as it would have been if I had been younger, but. Yeah, Haken, man, those guys are great.
Oh my God.
I got to like carve out some time to just like ingest a Haken album.
Actually, Mike Portnoy did the entire, what was they call it, the 12-step suite that he wrote over the course of like 6 Dream Theater albums. Either the song on each album was like a part of a suite.
Nice.
And then he did that live on one of the Prague cruises with Haken as his backing band.
Nice.
Is basically Mike Portnoy. They did basically all the 12 steps. Pretty cool. It's really cool.
Nice.
But, it's funny though is you look at in producing though, and I think people they kind of figure they must just be. I think a lot of people in their mind when they think producer they really think engineer. And it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
A producer is the guy who actually is more in the creative side of it. Bob Rock's for better or worse, good example of that.
Right. So for better, Dr. Feelgood. For worse, Metallica.
Exactly. Well, I mean, unquestionably led them to more commercial success. That's for sure. You know what I mean? You can't argue that.
There's an interview that just came out with Jason Newsted,
okay,
where he talks all about like how corny Enter Sandman is. Right? It's interesting to hear it from Newsted, right? Because although he got mixed out of And Justice for All, the opening riff on the album from Blackened, that's a Jason Newsted riff.
Yep.
So he's got contributions on the last Metallica album, and I strongly suggest people go find that interview with Jason Newsted about his true feelings about the first Metallica album.
I gotta tell you, man, there's some revisionist history going on with that, though.
No way. Not from Newsted. I think Newsted's the real deal, man.
I bet if you talked to him in 1992, he would have very different things to say.
Well, he would have been towing the company line, trying to promote an album and sell a product.
Yeah,
I mean, now he's free of those constraints.
I don't know, man.
He's going to make whatever royalties he's going to make until he's dead, which is still probably pretty handsome, even though he's the bass player, right?
For sure. I mean, we had songwriting credits and all that stuff, though, too. So it's not like he didn't have, he's not just like a hired gun bass player who's just getting his whatever piece of the cut that they agree to. He's actually getting parts of the royalties forever.
Yeah, and he's got a point or two.
And those songs are classic. That was bummer is like all those great classic songs. I guess this is where I'm kind of going with why it's really sad that there's not producers anymore. Not that there are people who you call producer, but they're really more like an engineer.
I mean, Taylor Swift has her producer person. I forget what his name is.
But if you listen to Taylor Swift's output, he really needs to be doing more work. Trying to, I like her stuff. There's her music, like a lot of artists, if you leave them unfettered, is just all over the place. There's good stuff, there's bad stuff, and it's all been intermingled. Like, why did that part come after this part? This
right. Like when Taylor Swift, she was starting to go into death metal territory,
yeah, exactly.
And then he reeled her back in.
This is like early death meets obituary. He's like, no, we're not doing
I'd like to go in more of like a Chuck Schuldiner direction as a singer-songwriter.
Like the V-shaped guitar.
The BC Rich Stealth. I'd love to see Taylor Swift rocking the BC Rich Stealth.
I'd like to hear that Taylor Swift at least knows who Chuck Schuldiner was. That'd be cool.
That would be cool. Yeah. That's the world I want to live in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's unlike Lady Gaga, who actually does know who like Bruce Dickinson and Adrian Smith is,
right.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, Lady Gaga is rad.
Yeah, but that being said, if you listen to even someone like that, who's undoubtedly, I respect Taylor Swift as a musician and a songwriter, and as a performer, and it seems like for someone as iconic as she is,
and as a cultural icon,
she's 34 years old, dude. She's a kid still. You know what I mean? And that kind of pressure, to be the biggest icon in the world when you're in your mid-30s, can you imagine? I can't imagine that. That'd be insane. I think she's handling it with grace.
Yeah,
I don't know how.
Agreed.
I mean, she could be a monster, and she isn't. You know what I mean? And that's
totally.
Ask Sean Combs about that.
Seems like she seems like a deal. Oh, right, because he just got indicted. Him and R. Kelly are going to be hanging out together.
Apparently.
Dude, imagine the prison album they could produce.
I can't wait. Oh my God.
With all the, so on behalf of when I worked retail, at Skips, I think Folsom Prison bought some musical instruments, like a bass guitar and some stuff.
Oh, so as punishment, like if you aren't good, we'll make you play bass.
We'll make you play bass.
If you're doing hard time, it's either look, kid, it's either solitary or the bass. It's like, no, put me in the hole. Put me in the hole.
Welcome to prison. Here's your bass. 30 days in the hole.
No!
But you have to play it on bass. Yeah.
Can't you just have a raven poking my eyes out for eternity?
Dude, speaking of dude, James Earl Jones.
Yeah, passed away.
That sucks, man.
It's okay. He will live on forever as an AI, though.
Right.
Because his voice will be on everything Star Wars till the end of time, basically.
My buddy sent me a picture of the. It was the Tulsa Doom like the emblem, the two snakes, right? Like on a flag at half mast.
Oh,
I just thought, oh man, you know who Tulsa Doom is?
I don't know,
dude. What?
I don't.
Okay,
That's like I'm not a whole human. I guess.
Okay, so you've seen Conan the Barbarian,
of course,
right?
yes, and Destroyer, and Conan the Destroyer.
Yes, the Destroyer was fun. I remember that freaked me out because of that scene at the end where the statue turns into
The monster, yeah.
turns into Andre the Giant in a rubber suit.
Is that what it was? Really?
Yeah, Andre. So yeah, you guys watch that one again. But yeah, I remember my dad and I saw it. My dad took me to go see it.
Yep.
And then yeah, that was a fun experience because I was super freaked out. Like you know, folks, it's important to scare the shit out of your kids.
I used to love those kind of movies, man. I remember. I don't even remember Kroll. Remember Kroll?
Ooh, the Cyclops guy.
Yeah. All those like sword and sandals, like terrible sci-fi sword and sandals from the 80s.
Yeah, dude, Beastmaster.
Yeah, I was gonna say Beastmaster.
Yeah, the opening scene when they're sacrificing children by throwing them into like the pit of fire. Like, dude, that was one of my earliest memories.
Happy spots, right?
Yes. So Tulsa Doom, that was James Earl Jones' character in the first.
Oh, Conan the Barbarian. Yeah.
He was the evil wizard that turned into a snake and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Dude, like Tulsa.
I knew he was in it, but I just like, oh, that's the guy that plays Darth Vader, and just moved on.
Man, I always thought Tulsa Doom would be a great band name.
Yep.
I'm sure someone's already done it.
I don't want to name check Tulsa though. What? Don't want to name check Tulsa. It hasn't earned that.
Well, it's TH.
I guess so.
ULSA. It's not.
People might think
it's not the Oklahoma.
They might think it's Oklahoma. I'm not giving them that. I'm sorry.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, exactly. Although, if you do go to Tulsa, you will find your doom.
Although, you know what? Every city name is, you know, there's one of those in like every state.
Is there another Sacramento, you think, somewhere? Like Sacramento, Afghanistan.
Sacramento, Syria. Oh yeah, they bombed Sacramento.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Oh, so there's a weird. There was like a German or Swedish band that actually had a single called Sacramento.
Huh.
Which is
was it unrelated? They didn't even know Sacramento was actually a city. It means something in German or something? Or?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Like, I don't think they actually came to the city and wrote it. I just think they had to write a song.
Well, everyone who comes
about a place,
as is well known around the world, anyone who comes to Sacramento is compelled to write a song about it.
So it became a thing on my Sacramento Kings blog about the time that the Magoofs were trying to sell the team, right?
Thank God those guys are long gone.
Thank goodness. Yeah. And so they, God, there's so many places I could take that joke, but I'll refrain. So the group was called Middle of the Road. They were they were kind of ABBA-y.
Okay.
Right. And so they're like their music video. They're all in like a gondola, like floating through, like Venice, Italy, singing about Sacramento. It's a wonderful town. Sing, sing, ding, ding.
City of
ding.
trees.
Yeah.
Is this like some kind of secret thing through like the Chamber of Commerce from Sacramento? They like under the table.
Yeah, I
don't
don't
know.
know.
This band to write a song about us.
It's like this weird thing, but you know what? It's produced
Fun for the whole family.
Yeah. It's produced well, and there's no auto tunes.
All right, well, fair enough.
Like, good on them,
dude. I know the auto tune's a hot button thing for you, but you gotta get some kind of sensitivity training about it because it's gonna happen from now on. Everyone.
I mean, I know it is, and there's plenty of music to listen to that isn't auto-tuned. Like, for example, you could listen to the album from Ex Aegis.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's true.
That is not an auto-tuned album.
Exactly.
Yeah, good on.
It is incredible.
Props to Judith Morgan for
the other thing that I was going to
performance.
mention too is the only band that I can think of that doesn't need a producer is Ex Aegis because we just write perfect songs.
Well, actually, we have Tom Frost.
Yeah, that's true.
He did some
help.
producing.
Yeah,
we got to give credit where credit's due.
Damn it! I was going to take all the credit for myself.
But you know what? I think of him as like kind of another member of the project, like anybody is.
Like Bob Rock to Metallica, same thing.
Except Tom didn't make us suck.
Despite his best efforts, I know you tried, Tom.
Yeah, Tom made things even better. Whereas
true.
Bob Rock was,
All right. So long story short, do you think we're ever going to see a world where there's very highly skilled producers working with high level artists again? Or do you think those days are long past because of the economics of music?
Well, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know how many. Is Mutt Lange even producing albums anymore?
I don't even know that Mutt Lange is still alive.
Or Beau Hill, right?
Yeah, Beau Hill's definitely doing engineering and stuff, but he's not really producing. I think the same with Michael Widener, just called it a day, recently retired.
Chris Sankaridis is dead.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes down to that those guys there's not enough money to make it worth their time. Because I think they're accustomed to if I'm going to do an album, it's going to be at least $50,000 or something to go do that.
Right. Yeah.
So
there's just none of that.
3 months or 4 months to go do it, and
so now what constitutes?
There's no budgets for that anymore.
Butch Vig is still around. And I mean, again, Butch Vig unleashed Nirvana on us, and so he's going to have to be on the People I Need to Forgive.
Well, there's a guy.
episode.
There's a guy that produces like Five Finger Death Punch and has done a few other bands. That's he did the Ozzy thing too. I'm trying to think of what the guy's name. It's like Kevin something.
Oh, Rick Rubin is still around, but you know, Rick Rubin produces all kinds of different stuff.
He does.
You know?
He's got that reputation as being the guy that lays on the couch and naps and then wakes up and says, "Oh, go all right, cool," and then goes back to bed. He doesn't really seem like he's very hands-on.
Well, I mean, Rick Rubin's stuff still sounds great, though. Right?
I don't know, man. That Slayer record he did. I don't know.
Do you listen to the first, at least the first Danzig album? It's lean and mean and sounds great.
Yeah, but I've heard stuff from him that was pretty awful too, though. I mean, I guess that's for my taste. You know, I want a certain thing. You know.
Well, I mean, imagine you're working with Slayer. I mean, you've got to get a sound. I mean, there's just like there's no space in Slayer. So
I guess, but you just make it sound like it. You know, something like Andy Sneap would be able to do something with Slayer that would sound great.
There we go.
You
So
know?
Andy Sneap, Judas Priest, right? He's a guy that's you know, getting good results.
But the one thing I would say about him, though, that is a bit of a bummer is that everything he does sounds exactly the same. So he has like a certain signature sound that he just makes it sound like. So you go to Andy Sneap, you get the Andy Sneap sound.
Yeah, like all the drums are the same drums. It's the same drum
The
kit
guitars
every
are like
time,
EQ'd the same and stuff. And I think one thing that's cool about listening to Muck Lang is that not every single album sounds exactly the same. They have it sounds good, but it doesn't sound, you know,
you can tell it's him.
Michael Thompson is a guy that's underrated. The guy did the early Tesla records and then a few other artists in that time. Another great producer. You know, there's a bunch of dudes in that time period who were actually working. Because back then there was a music industry. That's really the difference. There was there was millions and millions of dollars at stake to make a great record.
So, what are some classic are there any classic albums where where you love the album but you feel like the production doesn't hold up?
Oh, there's tons of those. I think to me, the one that I think that I want, this comes right to my head for some reason when I think about it, is Flesh and Blood by Poison. I feel like that. I feel like that production is pretty terrible. I think.
That reminds me of my 6th grade summer camping trip.
Along the same lines, Theater of Pain, I think it could be produced much better. You know,
I think most Dokken albums could be produced, but
Underlock and Key is the one exception. Underlock and Key sounds awesome. The rest of them actually don't sound. I think especially Tooth and Nail's got a lot of very spotty production.
And Back for the Attack, and I mean the songs are great. I love that album, but the production kind of doesn't hold up. I'd like to hear it remastered at least.
Another one album I really love is OU812 by Van Halen. I think that could have been produced better. You know,
I can see that.
You know, I feel like it wasn't that it was bad, but it's very dated sounding. It's like
maybe a little flat.
Let's make an album that sounds like 1987. You know what I mean? It's got that all the stuff you hear in like pop music in like the late 80s. It has all those elements, but it doesn't sound timeless in the way like 5150 still sounds pretty timeless to me.
Yeah,
1984 sounds timeless to me.
I bet that's the difference between like analog keyboards and digital keyboards.
Well, I don't know. He's still using the same stuff on same I guess Oberheim thing that same guitars on the 012. So I think it's just more like whatever they went for production wise, they wanted it to be the current. I think that's a mistake that producers make sometimes, is make the sound current rather than let's make it sound just great and timeless. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think a major barrier of entry for people trying to get into like the jazz fusion stuff from the like mid to late 70s, early 80s is that the keyboard sounds are very much of their time.
Yeah.
Just the tones, right? I'm not talking about the composition of the song or any of that.
Well, the composition of jazz fusion is tough because it's hard to make that sound, mainstream. It's just nothing about that music is mainstream.
Yeah, by definition, it's not mainstream.
There's nothing you could. Another artist, another album. I think that I love the production. This is kind of opposite of what you asked. I love production, but I'm not as enamored with the album is Promised Land by Queensryche. I love the production. I think the production is unbelievable on that.
So that was like their 90s.
But it's still great. Yeah. I still like that album quite a lot, but I wish the whole vibe of it was better, but the production is fantastic. It's definitely great.
I mean, it's hard to beat the production of Empire.
Empire is the best I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I would say the next one that's probably closest to that is probably the 87 Whitesnake album in terms of like that almost flawless production.
So good.
You know what I mean? It is amazing, that production on that album. I think it's spectacular.
I miss John Sykes.
Well, he's still alive.
I know.
He might actually get some
rock.
I hope it doesn't be a situation when he passes away and we just get all these posthumous albums from like the 10 albums he recorded in the last 5 years or something.
Right. From the John Sykes estate.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we're gonna put this new. I mean, I would love to hear it. I mean, it's do it while you can still do something about it, man. What are you doing? You know what I mean? And, that's something we'll talk about in a future podcast. Is people who are kind of called it a day who probably didn't need to.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess I want to end on a hopeful note. I feel like eventually what's going to happen. My hope is that people kind of will recognize that that art is important. You know, the people making music that's timeless and special is important, and then we'll find a way to start making the economics work again. You know, that's something I'm hopeful for. I know AI seems like a looming threat. Like that's going to be the thing that just kills, you know, whatever the you know, half alive corpse of music is now. We finally killed AI. But I don't think that human beings are meant to like listen to robots mimic what human beings do. I think that we're
unless so I found some more AI songs.
Oh no. Why are you looking for more AI songs?
Well,
Stop.
it's because they keep like popping up in my algorithm, and so it's hard to
Okay,
avoid.
by the way, this is that Ryan's about to lay on you guys just to know this is the thing we're hoping that future does not include. This is not what we want the future to be. We want it to be delicious, amazing music that people can listen to forever for hundreds and hundreds of years from now.
Right. Yeah. So here's oh
my god, the album I just thought that had production I wish was better, Dancing Undercover by Rat. I wish the production on that was better.
Yes.
That's a good one. That's a good example of one like that. Ozzy, oh my god.
And that would have been Beau Hill, right?
Yeah, Bark at the Moon by Ozzy. I wish that production on that was a little bit better too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought Ultimate Sin had pretty good production. I thought that the Bark at the Moon was very kind of flat sounding, you know.
But yeah, I can see that. I mean, you know, a lot of these things would probably just benefit from remasters.
Yeah, totally. I think because the songs are great and the performances are great. It's just
absolutely. And you know, I would. There's that. Holy Diver remaster out there.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Everybody needs to listen to that. And it's really, there's also like stuff that got edited out from the studio sessions.
Nice.
So you can like hear like Vinny Appice count off Rainbow in the Dark. It's fucking great.
I'd like to hear some of the live stuff from that time period too, like the tour stuff. I'm sure they have a bunch of board tapes and probably even better, probably stuff with the truck.
I think one of the Castle Donington performances is available on physical media.
Yeah,
you know, Blu-ray or DVD or something.
I would just like to get the nice remastered live album from that time period, listening to Vivian just kind of do a little bit of improvisation and stuff on the stuff, not just playing the I mean, knowing what I know about Vivian Campbell, he kind of improvises the solos live anyway.
Yeah, but
I would like to hear that. Like, what's the difference? How do you approach it differently? You know, doing that stuff live. You know what I mean? That'd been cool. You know, for us who were too young at the time to be able to see that. You know,
absolutely, wholeheartedly agree. So this week's AI song of the week. That was redundant what I just said.
This week's Song of the Week's song.
Yeah, well, you know, it didn't make me like go through a commercial, so here we go.
Oh man, we're in good shape as a culture.
So that was by AI artist Terry Piles with his a computer-generated hit song, "Ass Chunks."
Harry Piles seems like an obvious one.
You would think, right? Yeah. So there we go. So that's where AI, and you know what? I would rather listen to that than Nate Smith.
Nothing Nate Silver talking about the election.
No, yeah, I don't know. I may or may not want to hear what he has to say. I don't know. But so there you go, folks. So we'll leave you with Ass Chunks.
Enjoy Ass Chunks, everybody.
That's all.
Part of the complete breakfast.
And you know, with corn trucks.
No, don't you besmirch corn trucks,
dude. I hate it when I'm in the grocery store and it's a toss up.
Corn trucks are delicious and delightful for
corn trucks or ass chunks.
Well, one leads to the other. One thing leads to the other.
Yeah. And of course the true it's just like how Captain Crunch is like a bunch of other cereals too.
Yeah.
Like right? So,
no, they're all different. What are you talking about?
I know. So like
unless you tell me all the tricks are the same flavor. Come on, stop it.
Well, the sad reality is that corn trucks and ass chunks are the same product.
Damn it.
I know.
All those hardworking farm workers making them corn trucks and frankly ass chunks.
Yeah, so as long as AI music sticks to the ass chunks,
Yes.
like I don't feel threatened.
I
but it's
fully agree.
the,
I agree. I think we all should just make a treaty with the AI. You stay in the ass-related song section and
Right.
stay there, and we'll figure out everything else. That's all the rest of us, you know.
That's
all
right.
right, that's going to do it for today on this happy, amazing episode of Rock Guitar Confidential with Scott and Ryan. Please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. And Ryan, what's it's xagesband.com. So how do you
that
spell
would be www.exagesband.com.
Please check it out. Listen to all of our music from our debut solo album.
What? Did I just get fired on the podcast?
X Aegis album. I don't know. Don't listen to me. And make sure to follow us on social. All of our links to social are on there as well. Yes, the debut album from X Aegis. I don't know what I'm saying. Solo album. What am I saying?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
I don't
man.
either. It doesn't make any sense. I'm clearly at the end of my rope from that. After hearing the ass chunks, I'm a little out of sorts.
Yes.
So everyone, please
Understood.
check out
Ass
the
chunks have
website.
that effect on people.
Please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. Please make sure to follow us on social media, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks so much.
Peace.